Bracket is out, and once again, the SEC is right in the middle of everything. Teams all over the field and a ton of hype, but a lot of real questions about who's actually built for March. Tennessee is right in the mix, not a top seed, not a favorite, but a team that could make a serious run or probably most likely be the first, be out on the first weekend. Tonight, we're breaking down Tennessee's path, the SEC's chances across the bracket, and which teams are actually built to survive March, and which ones are getting way too much credit. And we're doing it with the guys from Fourth and Whatever. Join us to bring the Tennessee and SEC perspective. Bracket is set. March is here. This is Bench Points.
Right? Welcome, boys.
What's going on, guys?
I'm just trying to survive this week up until the first tip at noon.
Oh, yeah. I got the brackets.
Yeah, without question. I just want to say thank you all for having us on. I don't know if y'all want me to say that at the beginning or the end, but it's an honor to join forces like this. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's nice to get some extra Tennessee fans in and not constantly listen to Purdue. They're succeeding where we're failing, and it's hard to listen to all the time.
Absolutely,
I can imagine.
To kind of kick things off on the talk here, we've got how do we feel about the seed that Tennessee got? Does it feel like that's what we deserve? Does it feel like that maybe a missed opportunity to get a better seed? I think there were some opportunities this year we let slip away, but is that seed to what we, does that line up to what we probably deserve?
I was just going to say, I do agree kind of with the seeding on that. I know I'd heard, fifth kind of going in there a little bit ago, and then with the sixth seed, Tennessee definitely had opportunities to get higher, but I do agree with the seeding, honestly, of where they're at.
Yeah, we kind of fell into it. They put us, I think we ended up being the top 6 seed, which is just fine, but there were so many opportunities, especially at the end of the year, that we had to really bump that up to 4, maybe a 3 argument. If we held on to double-digit leads, like twice against Kentucky, Alabama, if we beat Vandy either time, like at home or in the SEC tournament, we're probably looking a lot better of a seed, but we can't hold on the leads, can't make free throws, or can't get any offense to show up. So we farted our way around to the 6th seed.
Yeah, in my opinion, man, it's really a common theme if you're a Tennessee fan across the board in most sports. Sometimes it's a letdown, it's heartbreaking. You see us shoot ourselves in the foot oftentimes, dropping some games that we shouldn't have dropped. It just rings true for most sports, especially football and basketball. But, losing to Kentucky in basketball, we have kind of owned them in the past in a few games in a few years. Watching us drop games to them is kind of heartbreaking, being a rival and everything. And then losing to Vandy this football season and then turning around and losing to them in basketball is a really, really heartbreaker because they're supposed to be little brother. That's what we call them on the Fourth and Whatever podcast. So watching us lose to them, man, it really is heartbreaking. But to make a long story short, I think being a 6 seed might be a blessing in disguise. Getting those higher seeds oftentimes puts a bigger target on your back. So I'll take it. That's where I stand on it.
Yeah, finding a silver lining wherever you can when Vandy runs our state in sports right now. Because I think they've got the better baseball team too. So it's be a painful year or two here for UT Athletics.
But I think we've got the softball team. But we can't have a little pressure to put on the softball team. Our softball team are world beaters.
Yeah, I think we got them at chess too.
Yeah. Hell, I'll take them for anything. Maybe not open heart surgery, but that's about it.
Yeah. It's one thing you talked about with Kentucky though, the leads that we had on that and dropping those. That's what really got me with that. It's one thing. I know Tennessee, Kentucky can kind of go back and forth a little bit in basketball, but to lose the leads they had in those, I think ultimately that's stuff that's going to hurt you when it comes to seeding and in the tournament. You got to have some consistency when it gets down to this time. It's March Madness, so it's time to be consistent.
Well, when it comes to the path to the Sweet 16 or even the Elite 8, the worst matchup for Tennessee is who?
So for me, and this shows where the bracket that I actually filled out, I think it's going to be Virginia. I think Tennessee will get past that first round, and we're going to meet, and I think we'll meet Virginia in that round 32. And I think that Virginia is just going to be it's one of their tougher opponents on the side that they're on right now. And I just don't know that we match up well against Virginia. And I'll be the first to admit I've actually had us losing to Virginia in the bracket that I did fill out.
So yeah, it's going to be a common theme. I think Virginia is a very tough matchup for just the guys they have and the team we have. I don't think it works out well because JP and Akpara refuse to look at the rim if they get at the top of the key, and because they don't look at the rim, it allows people to play drop coverage and that Virginia has an incredible shot blocker, so that's going to eat the lane up. I mean, I don't think Virginia has a match for a Mint, but uh, there's not too many teams out there that do. But a Mint can just decide not to show up randomly too. So that hurts. But from the path to like the Sweet 16, if we can, I think we'll win the first round no matter who does it. It'll be interesting to see if SMU carries, because the BJ Edwards started his career at Duke, and then he's, I think, the second or third leading scorer at SMU. So it'll be interesting to see how that works, like just that little connection. But I like Tennessee to beat either Miami, Ohio, or SMU, and then if we do get by Virginia, I think it's interesting because there's a good chance we see Kentucky in the Sweet 16 again. When we lost both games to them last year, and then we got to witness them here, beat Kentucky and Indy last year in the Sweet 16. So we won the one that mattered. I wonder if we do that again. But if we can get by that Virginia team, I don't know that there's too many teams we have a disadvantage against. We may not be on the advantage, but I think matchup wise, we are match up very well with every other team that we could play, but it's just Virginia is a rough match for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you have a basketball team where your leading scorer is also the guy that leads your team in rebounds and Ritter for Virginia, I mean, that's a tough combo for any team to defend, whether you've got the matchup or not. I mean, that's somebody that you've really got to watch out for. And Tennessee, historically, I feel like does struggle with big men like that. So, I mean, you guys say that. Well, Michael, you said that you've got Tennessee losing to Virginia in that second round. I don't think that that's too far from the truth, to be honest with you. But as a Tennessee fan, I would love to see them make it a little bit further. I would like to see that Sweet 16 matchup against Kentucky. That's like box office, if you will, a matchup that I would like to see as opposed to the Virginia matchup. So I'll just say that Tennessee makes it past Virginia, but Ritter will be tough to handle. If we do lose it, it'll be because of what he did and what he posed as a threat to us. So definitely going to be a tough game, regardless.
We just got to get there. We can't have the games that show up or we struggle with Mississippi State for three-fourths of the game, or need a 20-0 run to beat Auburn. We can't have that game show up because we'll get our butts handed to us by any team in the tournament if we do that.
And I know we keep mentioning that rematch with Kentucky, but I don't know that Kentucky's going to make it even out of the first round.
I'm not convinced.
Yeah,
That's fair.
I think that there's a chance that they're not even there. But for them to get by Iowa State, it is going to have to be. They're going to have to play nearly damn perfect, in my opinion, to be able to get past them, especially with how good Iowa State is defensively. Which I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think for Tennessee's sake, I think it's really, really important for the first game to have a really strong performance from our guards, where we can come in with a little bit of swagger. That first game, yeah, we may win by 20, but it's how we do that 20. I think will say a lot about our next round chances. So that's something to definitely be. I'm going to be looking at in that first game, not just advancing, but just how we advance.
Brad, I like that you mentioned
great.
that with the Iowa State, because Iowa State sitting there in Kentucky's path. I do like you mentioned that because that's going to be a very tough game for them. And a few years ago, was it 2 years in a row? Kentucky went out round 1-2. So it's not a guarantee that they're going to make it past that first round as well.
Yeah, don't sleep on Santa Clara. They are not. I disagree that they should be in the tournament, but they are a bad matchup for Kentucky because of length and shooting that they have and the pace they want to play, and versus what Kentucky will want to do. I think they're going to give Kentucky all sorts of problems. Who not really coming in playing the best. I mean, they struggled with LSU, struggled with Missouri, and then got beat by Florida, kept it somewhat tight, but I don't know how much Florida was trying, because then they turned around and got beat by 20 by Vandy. So I don't know. Just not a lot of faith in Kentucky. I just think it's fun that this will be the second year in a row that they've set us up to meet in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, that's something interesting to think about. I mean, that first round matchup with Santa Clara, I mean, the spread on that game is only 3.5 points. I mean, I don't know, as far as football is concerned, how that translates. We know that calls for a tight game. I can just imagine that, you think 3.5 points, that's 2 layups. That's a 3-point shot. I mean, it's going to be a tight game. And yeah, y'all are right. Who's to say Kentucky even makes it past the first round?
So what would we say truly what I think the floor, we've already kind of said this, but the floor for this team, this Tennessee team, would be a first round exit. I mean, that's still in the realm of possibilities. If we're being honest, it's still in the cards. But what do we think the ceiling might be? Truly, like maybe remove your orange tinted glasses a little bit.
I think Elite Eight is our cap, and I think it is. Like if I'm putting percentages on it, I think there's a 10% chance we make it to the Elite Eight, and I think there's like a 65% chance we don't see the second round. But just because of how this way this Tennessee teams to play, but I think getting past the Elite Eight is something that Rick Barnes really doesn't understand how to do, and this Tennessee team doesn't understand how to hold on to leads or finish games. So I think Elite Eight is at best, because you're seeing Michigan or Alabama there or somebody else that's went through one or both those teams who are top tier team. That means they're playing extremely well. So I don't think we get past the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick past the Elite Eight until Barnes is able to get this team past that. If that makes, I mean, I know that sounds like the obvious, but I would want to say the Final Four if they did get past Virginia, and you know, because I would have them, I think, matched up. I think I got Bama getting to the Elite Eight, and I would have them matched up against Bama if they were able to continue going. And they're obviously able of beating Bama. You know, they've done it once this year and then lost once to them. But until they can prove they can get past that point, I'll always have the Elite Eight as kind of a cap right now. You know, no matter how we have been kind of in the season, until we can prove that we can get past that point.
Yeah, Barnes. I mean, it's no secret. It's kind of like that speed bump or that hump that he can't get over. I mean, you've got 8 consecutive tournament appearances. You went to the Elite Eight. You had a run there in 23 and 24, and that's as far as we've ever made it. Even though we've had some incredible teams that we thought should have advanced further than that, just hasn't happened, man. So just to kind of piggyback off of what all you all thought, I would say Elite Eight, maybe even Sweet 16. I mean, you know, just depending on where those matchups fall, who we get, you know, who we go up against. It could be a tough road, but that's what the tournament's built on, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's why we tune in every March. You got people that don't watch college basketball all year and they tune in when March rolls around. So it's the excitement and the unknown that keeps us all glued to it all month long.
Well, for sure. I mean, it's an interesting run because, like, you talk about Alabama. The news that broke was it this morning or was it last night? I don't know. With Reitzel getting arrested for his
Holloway.
extra. Oh, that's right. For his extracurricular activities, and allegedly he had a couple pounds of it. So it seems like he's not going to play. But if we know anything about Nate Oates, if he's got a chance to play him, he'll play him. So we'll see what happens there. But like, I think this bracket, like this region they're in, breaks for them if they get past the jitters and get by the first round. Because I mean, they're at a little bit of a disadvantage because you can't really scout who you're playing until the night before, or 2 days before. Virginia is a very tough matchup. Like I would say it's a great team as well. So like if they can kind of skate by a little bit, it breaks open for them. But I don't know. I wish we had last year's team in this year's bracket because I would have liked it a lot better. Like I would have said for sure we're going to the Final Four, but not the case, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if we, I feel like if we make it to the Sweet 16, I will feel a bit of an accomplishment just with this team, considering of how close we've been to the wheels completely falling off. It almost feels like it would be. I was really thinking about this earlier today. Is that I think I'll be almost relieved if we make it to the Sweet 16. Like, oh, thank God, at least we got there. Like, and I know that sounds so lame, but that's just the way that the season's been. We've kind of held our breath and been walking on a tightrope. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of tired of it. I'm tired of growing gray hairs from it. I already have enough going on in my own life and my family, like with kids. Like I can't do this. So I think that's one of the things for me. I think the ceiling would be the Elite Eight. Personally, I feel like I could excel a bit if we make it to the Sweet 16, and I feel like we've accomplished something and overcame quite a bit.
I think that's an interesting point we bring up. What do you consider success for this Tennessee team? I think winning the first game makes this one a success a little bit. Just from this team, from this perspective, like I said, the wheels have almost came off several times, and I have no real true expectations of making the Sweet 16 because I don't know that we can put 2 games together. But I don't know. That also feels like we've really lowered the bar from the last handful of years. You know, from the Connect year and the Lanier year where it felt like we should have been in the Final Four and we were this close both times. And then a few years before that, we had like Grant Williams and that team that should have been in the Final Four. and that didn't quite make it. Like we've had so many should have beens right there on the edge, and then this team feels like they've really lowered the bar. That's unfortunate, I think.
I think the
Yeah.
biggest thing to also take into consideration is, this tournament's being played. It's not being played in Knoxville. And if you watch the season and you think about how the season went, Tennessee struggled on the road. I mean, 5-5 record overall for the season on the road. They don't play well when they're not in that Food City Center, man. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like you just got constant road games ahead of you from here, man. And that might sound a little silly, but you've got to take that into consideration. I know everyone's playing road games technically in the tournament, but Tennessee doesn't bode well on the road, man, and that's something to also take into consideration.
And I think something too that I was thinking about earlier is that, and this is going off topic just a smidge, but when it comes to this Tennessee team, it's kind of shocking of how much experience that we have on our team and how little that it shows on the floor.
Yeah.
Like with a lot of other teams, to have the experience that we have, you would see a lot more resilience than what we show. And I think that has a lot to do with the leadership personalities on the team that are a little bit maybe soft or non-existent, just a lot of role players. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something that I typically favor experienced teams, and with this NIL era, teams that maybe have a little age on them. And we saw that in Indiana, in football, right?
Yep.
We saw what would happen with a little bit of experience with some age on them. It's easy to see what you make with it. And so this Tennessee team, I feel like, has just really underperformed in that area, which I think will impacts the way that I view this tournament.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. Go ahead,
I
Jay.
think our biggest issue is we've got guys playing out of position. Like I don't think Gillespie's a true point guard, and like he's more of a scorer. And Boswell doesn't seem to want to be the point guard. And then Natum is just he's so young and like feels like he's still getting used to his body. So he's not got the extreme confidence that you need out of your like go-to guy. Then like our big guys are athletes that need a true point guard to kind of help them out. Because like you can see the difference between Akpara with Zakai versus Akpara with Gillespie. Like a much more felt offense felt easier for him than it does this year. Like, I think that's our biggest issue is we've got guys not quite fitting the right puzzle pieces that we're trying to force in, and it kind of hurts. Like it takes away from that experience because they're new in the role that they're in instead of being able to rely on the experience that they've had in the past of what they were doing.
Yeah, some of those leadership roles, like you were talking about, doesn't really seem like there's that clear leadership role. Like when you had Ziegler, when you had Dalton Connect, even when we had like Fulkerson and people that we've always had somebody who was the experience and someone who was always that leader, kind of bring everybody together, keeping calm during moments when it's you're going to have moments where the momentum's not going your way, and you've got to have somebody at that point who can step up, remain calm, and really kind of keep the team together and not fall apart. And especially like some of those late game losses where, we had leads, we had moments to win games, but it kind of fell apart there towards the end throughout the season and some of those big moments. And I guess it's like you don't really have that person that is that leader to keep that all in control during that time.
It's just surprising out of a Rick Barnes team. It's something of since he's been at Tennessee, like we've never seen to have lacked. But at the same time, this is the first time we don't have a 4-year point guard. Like, you had Zakai that was there for 4 years. Who was the point guard with Grant Williams and them? I mean, you had Vescovi that was there for 4 years. Now those kind of overlap. This is the first time we've ever had a first-year point guard in the system, so I wonder how much that affects things too.
I mean, I've heard some people say that it's, and I think this might be a little bit of a stretch, but it was said on local Knoxville radio that somebody had said that they're like it's pretty evident that Rick Barnes expected Zakai Ziegler to win his case and be on this team, and I kind of thought at first I kind of scoffed at that, like, well, he's not going to put all the eggs in that basket, but the more I thought about it, the more it kind of makes sense that this team was maybe intended to be led by Zakai once again, and having Gillespie as that too, or maybe Gillespie wouldn't even be here, which would be a shame. I think you'd make a pure two guard, maybe even a 3 at times. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting point that's kind of resonated in my mind a bit.
No, I like that. That makes a lot of sense because we didn't really chase any other point guards in the portal. We weren't really tagged in them either. So it was it's fair. It's probably a fair point that he expected, especially with the way things are going with Pavia and somehow and later on, Bidiaco gets to play. We can't get Zakai an extra few games. It'd be nice if he tried again and got that injunction right now. I'm sure it'd be nice to slide
Yeah.
them in.
It seems to be a common theme with head coaches at Tennessee. I feel like Hype might have waited around on Aguilar a little too long.
True.
See,
Yes.
I'm of the opposite opinion. I didn't want Aguilar back. I didn't want anybody new in 1 year. I wanted from a quarterback. I want to see what we got with McIntyre and Faison. I want to see what they do before I go chase another 1
Same
year.
here. We've said that as well, but it's like, not to go on a tangent, but the landscape and what everyone else is doing and trying to stay in the status quo of getting a veteran quarterback, all that stuff. You just something that wouldn't have really surprised me if we went to the portal and got a veteran guy. That's all I was,
Makes sense.
Sorry to bring football into it.
You're good, man. You're good.
We
Look, it's
haven't
SEC.
forgotten about
it.
It's
And
SEC
that
stuff. It's
translates in
all
the world of transfer portal, even in basketball. I think everybody's trying to go get that experienced guy sometimes instead of kind of stepping away a little bit from building someone from that freshman to sophomore. And it's go grab the experienced guy now, pay the money. And I think that kind of translates to basketball as well.
All
But
right.
Brad, it's like you said, Brad, real quick.
Yeah.
When talking about if Ziegler would have came back, you wouldn't have even got Gillespie's. That, and like you said, that would have been a shame. I mean, because look what he's done. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, somebody that you want on your team, regardless of who else is on the roster.
Yeah. He to be honest with you, Gillespie, I think I would like him so much more if he was strictly a two guard.
Right.
I think there's so many of the things that irritate me about his game are because he's playing point. I just don't like him as a point guard. And I don't think he does either. I really don't. I think he prefers to be in that two spot.
Yeah.
And some people are, think of the game today that it's, you have to be a two-way player to really find yourself relevant. But I really feel like that's not necessarily true depending on how your team makeup is. And we could have really used a true point guard to kind of collaborate with him and dish him the ball. And I'm still glad he's a ball. I'm glad he's here. And especially he's an in-state guy. He made his rounds, but he finally ended up at his his childhood team. So that's all really cool, and I love that. I'll always be a fan of those stories. But I know we're going to continue to talk about Tennessee throughout the podcast, but we also kind of want to incorporate some SEC teams and some other SEC components. And one of the questions that was kind of thrown around here is that how many SEC teams make it to the Sweet 16 / Elite Eight? I feel like this is a tough question.
I think on the high end, we look at 6 and probably most likely 4 if where I'm sitting. Because like Florida, like you're going to count Florida being there. So there's one automatically. You would think Vandy's draw gets them to the Sweet 16, but then that guarantees you one in the Elite Eight. I would have said Alabama for sure to the Sweet 16, but don't know what they look like without Holloway because he's been a big piece here recently. So that's question. And then guards win you in March. Like that's always been the story. It's been the story for as long as this tournament's existed. So as much as I do not like Cal and Arkansas, they're probably going to see the Sweet 16. I mean, Wisconsin's a tough draw, the second round, but they'll probably get through it because I'm always going to trust the team with the best point guard and one of those tight games. And I don't know that there is a better point guard playing than Acuff right now. That dude is just a fantastic player and an incredible watch. The best thing about it is that man just plays ball. He doesn't complain. He doesn't go crazy celebrating and doing stuff. As soon as he makes his bucket, he's right back on D doing it again. He's a very, very good player. I know there's a lot of arguments. People want to say Rose and Wall are way above him as Cal point guards, but I don't think the gap's that big. I think he might be one of the better ones, but we'll see. Then I think Texas A&M has a good chance, but at the same time, they could also lose. They're just as likely to lose their first game. And the same thing with Missouri. I think both those teams have a decent chance to make the Sweet 16. More leaning on Texas A&M to get that done because I think the matchups lean their way. But I think, like I said, I think we're in the 4 to 6 range, most likely 4, probably capped at 6. I don't see Kentucky and Tennessee really meeting up. I don't see Georgia making it past their first game. And definitely not making it past the second game. So none of those teams are really going to help us out.
Yeah. If you maybe just pick a number, like like you said, it is a tough question. I probably would just say 4. If you were asking me to just pick solid number, like who I thought was going to get in, and mine would be, Florida, Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas. That would be my 4 if I had to really pick. talk to me when that time comes around. I might be completely wrong, but I think we got several SEC teams that are in the tournament. Just some of them do have a really hard path to getting there. As good as the SEC I think has got basketball in recent years, tournament time does seem to hurt sometimes when they really get into the tournament. So I would just probably say 4 would be my guess on that.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the 3 or 4 range. I know 3 is probably on the lower end, but I mean, looking at the bracket, the way everything's laid out, I mean, while everybody's been talking, I've been trying to ask myself the question: who has the toughest pathway to the Sweet 16? And that's a question that I want to pose to all y'all. But where I'm sitting at, 3 or 4, obviously Florida, defending champs. I think they're probably a shoe in at this point. Arkansas, of course, coming out and I don't know how Arkansas did all year, to be very honest with you, but coming out and winning the SEC tournament, I think that speaks volumes. So that's got to carry some sort of weight, making their way through this bracket, and of course Vandy, and Alabama as well. So yeah, but that is something that I want to ask, if that's okay. Who do you all think has the toughest pathway just to the Sweet 16 out of the SEC?
I think Georgia probably does, because St. Louis is a very good team. They lost a tough conference, but they've been ranked most of the year. They've got an incredible coach. They got a loaded roster that is like old. And if they get past St. Louis, then they're greeted with Michigan. And I think they're like playing in Detroit. That's a hop, skip, and a leap jump from where Michigan plays. So you're going to be playing on a road game. Georgia's not been good on the road all year, and against a very, very good Michigan team. So I think Georgia's route is pretty tough.
I forget that Georgia's even in the tournament at times. Like they are such a non-threatening team to be an 8 seed. Is not that they're bad, they're just not threatening to me. I'd be way more fearful of the Texas A&M squad than I would be Georgia.
I think Arkansas's got a tough route too. Hawaii's not a pushover team.
I was about to ask that.
I think I've already heard Cal complain about the travel going out to Portland, but it's not like Hawaii's travel's any easier. But we've seen all year with the Big Ten teams, the East Coast teams that go west don't do well. So you got that issue going, and also you come out and carry a Wisconsin team who's playing really, really good basketball, has really slayed all the Giants to get to the Sweet 16. So I think that's kind of tough, but I still think Georgia's got the toughest route.
Sweet.
That's good. That's a good question. And I think we all are pretty much on the same page, or if anyone is opposed, speak up now, that the best SEC team in the bracket is Florida.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It is still insane to think about where Florida was and how they've started their year. I mean, that says a lot about the squad and their resiliency, and talking about their leadership and those veteran guys. That's where you see it. I feel like that's where you can see it really coming in hot right there, is be able to overcome such a rough beginning of the year, and then here they are sneaking in, and that got that last 1 seed and winning the conference, so the regular season. So I still don't understand the getting smacked by Vanderbilt deal. That's still a weird. I think they were ready for their dance.
Yeah,
but,
I don't know how much they were trying that game, because Golden is a lot of has the same opinion on conference tournaments that I do. That like, unless you need them, don't go for it. Or unless you're like Duke, that like back into their way to the championship. Like if you're there, play for it. But like you don't play to lose. But you're not like, we're going to push 40 minutes out of our best guys to make sure we get it. Vandy was hot, took advantage of that. I think Florida's obviously the best team. There's no question. They won the SEC, had a couple games, 2 or 3 games. Like there's not a doubt there. But I think probably the second best team going right now, unfortunately, as much as I hate to say it, it's Arkansas. They really didn't have the gauntlet of the SEC tournament, because Ole Miss did a lot of their work for them, knocking out Bama and a couple other squads on their run in. But I mean, they handled a Vandy team that just beat Florida by 20. They ended the year playing very, very good basketball. They've got a great point guard. And then when Brazil decides he's going to play well and he gets that 3-point shot going, they are really tough to beat.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
But at the same time, if he's one of those guys I would guard like this, I'd let him make that first one, because I want him shooting them, because I don't think he's going to make it that often. And if he does, I'll take my loss. I'll eat it. But I'd rather him be outside the paint than in it. And Vandy found out the hard way. That dude it can absolutely turn a game on its head. That game was real
Yeah.
tight, and then there was like a 2-minute stretch where he hit 7 threes and blocked 18 shots, I think was the exact count, and just really flipped that game. So I think if they got those pieces going and like, I mean, they've got guards. They've got other guards that can set up, like Malik Thomas, the freshman. DJ Wagner can have games. Kevin Knox can show up, and Billy Richard. They've got guys that can show up. It's just they don't typically get them to show up all in the same night, and so that's been their issue all year. Is ACAF shows up, and then it's like maybe somebody else will. That's why they're probably the second best team. Everybody's going to be looking at Vandy because of that 20-point win, but I think the highlight should be more on Arkansas there.
Yeah, I agree. And something about Florida, not to like we'll just go back and everything. I think, Florida did lose in that tournament, but I think as soon as that happened, that, the focus shifted and may have already been there on March Madness. I think Florida's going to be well prepared for this tournament. And, I think that loss they put behind them pretty quick. They got the regular season SEC championship or SEC champions, so I think they're just focused on the higher prize when it comes to that. And I feel like they'll be ready for March Madness. I don't think it's going to necessarily hurt them so much just losing that game in the tournament like they did.
It's something that we've talked about on our podcast, man, is teams that have success in one season and say like a repeat champion or something like that. It's hard to find success back-to-back years going deep into another tournament, trying to make that run yet again.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I mean, what is it? I think the last college basketball team to win back-to-back championships is UCLA. Is that? I don't know if anybody has that fact on them right now, but
No,
I think that's
UConn did
Florida.
it.
Okay, UConn. Okay,
No,
sorry.
UConn won
So yeah, I mean,
04, and then Florida did it 06-07.
Yeah.
okay. So, but it's like it's so far and few between when things like that happen, over and above all. So, I mean, a team with that on their shoulders and that on their mind. Not saying that they're not the best SEC team in the tournament, because I think that is the case, but their success could falter on just the past success that they've had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Florida's extremely gettable this year. A lot of teams have played them close. A lot of they've had some big blowouts. Like Auburn got them by close to 30, and Florida, like the Vandy just got them by 20. If you can get the right kind of whistle where it's not letting it be so physical and inside, they're very, very gettable, because they don't have the same guard presence that they had last year. And that's been their issue all year, is they don't have the same kind of guard presence. They don't have Walter Clayton Jr. that can pull their ass out of the fire at any point. I mean, UConn had this team on the wire last year that ended up winning it all, and Clayton pulled them out. Like, I'm not trusting Boogie Fland or Xavier Lee or Irvin to pull them out of the fire like they did last year. This is a much weaker Florida team than last year, but at the same time, the SEC might have been, I don't know if it was the best conference, but it was a very deep conference. The top was a lot lower than it was last year.
There's something hilarious about my UCLA statement a minute ago. I took it back to the 60s, apparently. I just fact-checked myself. I do apologize for that.
They were talking about John Wooden. I'm like, hold on, it's happened a couple times.
Y'all boys were like, man, is this dude like from a different decade or something? That's hilarious.
Wait, to be fair, he won 10 in a row.
Happens, man. We're no experts.
As we say on our podcast, that's why we're on the bench.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just got benched, by the way.
Well, welcome. So, who would be the most dangerous SEC sleeper in your all's opinion?
I think Jake answered it. I think it's Arkansas. I don't know if that's considered a sleeper per se because they won the tournament, but I mean, everybody's got their eyes on Florida, and I don't know if that's. I just think it's Arkansas personally. I don't know if that's out of pocket or not what you're looking for, but I think that would be my sleeper team.
That's a good answer if you think they're taking it all the way. Like, the 4 seeds don't typically do that. I'm going to go real deep here. I think I like Texas A&M. I just think that buckyball styles make fights, and that can really cause some issues. I think the matchup they have has to get to the Sweet 16 is 2 teams that want to slow it down. So if they can get on a couple of those runs where they're forcing a ton of turnovers, I mean, this team had Alabama on the ropes and just couldn't make a shot. At one point, I think they were 1 for 18. They had Alabama turning the ball over left and right. They were winning the SEC for a majority of the year. They're very good. Bucky's a great coach. They're well coached. If they can control the tempo for a 5-minute stretch in these games, like those first 2 games, they could really not put it out of reach, but really put it into their basket where somebody's going to come take it from them. Also think Missouri is one to look out for. They've got some crazy wins. I mean, they beat Florida by 2. They won at Kentucky by, I think it was like 20. They beat the Texas A&M team. They beat Tennessee, but it's just they don't show up sometimes. Like you got a loss to Oklahoma. They were absolutely destroyed by Kansas and Illinois. I think the Illinois game just scored 47 points. So they don't show up from time to time, but they're also like Mark Mitchell is a great player. They've got the big guy, I forget his name at the moment, is really good. You got T.O. Vol Destroyer. That's what I'm going to call him because he absolutely murdered us. He was the only offense they had there for the last 5 minutes of the game. We couldn't figure out how to stop him. And there's the Jacob Cruz guy off the bench he's going to be good for at least one game where he hits 5 or 6 threes. Like if he gets the opportunities, I think those 2 teams could really sneak up on some teams if they want to. And I mean, Dennis Gates is also an incredible coach. I'm shocked that Missouri is going to be able to hold on to him. I'm not sure they really get to after this year, but right now he's way overperforming at Missouri.
Yeah, Jake. I think I'm going to agree with you on Texas A&M because I've actually got Texas A&M beating St. Mary's in that first round, and then obviously I feel like they'll be playing Houston in round 32 there in the second round. And as March Madness goes, a top seed's going to go down at some point, and a lot of times it happens kind of early on. And if Texas A&M catches a little fire there, I think they could be someone who could knock out a top seed early on in this tournament and cause a little bit of madness. And I definitely, I'm going with Texas A&M. I think for my kind of potential, underrated team that could do some damage in the tournament.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M is the one for me. And one of the things that stands out to me about them, and this is a product of buckyball in my opinion, but that they have 6 players that average in double digits in points. That is, from a coaching perspective, that is a dream. And that's something that you don't see very often. And so that's something that could really translate well in the tournament and cause problems for people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. What SEC team would be most likely to disappoint? I think Alabama's a great pick for this one, considering the 2-pound problem that they have in Tuscaloosa right now.
I think there was something about a tax stamp too.
Yeah. Gosh, that Jake, you called that out in our group text, and I didn't realize what you were talking about at first. I'm like, what does he mean by this? And then I realized, and it's really funny reading that in an article to go with
Colonial England. Like, wow.
Yeah. So I think Alabama, you know what? I would say this. I think Alabama with Holloway would still fall under this category. Jake, Sam, and I went to Tuscaloosa earlier this fall. We went and saw them play Purdue, and that was a very cool experience. But I really think that we saw Alabama maybe at their best that night, and it's not necessarily translated throughout the season. And so if that team that we saw then could somehow resurface, they could maybe shock some people. They could really, kind of establish themselves and really actually live up to that 4th seed, which I don't think they should have. But I think Alabama is most likely to disappoint.
I'm on Vandy here. I think Vandy is just because they're going to catch a lot of hype for the Florida, how they played at the end of the year, beating Tennessee twice, Florida by 20. They're playing very well, but this is the same team that has really struggled at times. If you look against like early in the year, their non-conference, they had a 5-point win over Western Kentucky, like when they weren't playing in Nashville, and then the OT to Memphis, they lost to Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Kentucky. Their road wins, their away from Nashville wins are Mississippi State, Auburn, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. The Ole Miss one went to overtime, so it's not like they've done exceptionally well when they've left the area of Nashville. So I think a little bit of travel is going to catch up and maybe get them slipped up because that McNeese team is not one to play around. I know they're favored by 11.5, but that's not, you don't want to play around with them. And then I think that winner of the Nebraska-Troy game is also going to be tough for them because that is 2 very good teams that they're going to run in against there. So I think Vandy has a great chance to bust a lot of brackets of people that have them going a little bit farther than what they should.
Yeah. Right. I do agree with Bama. I think they're a team that a lot of people's going to have kind of far into the tournament that could disappoint. But I do want to add another one. I think that potentially Arkansas winning the SEC championship. I think most people's going to have them getting in the Sweet 16, playing Arizona. But that Wisconsin game, Wisconsin moves on in that second round. I could see that as kind of a game that they slip up on potentially too, with the hype of, the way they're playing right now, winning the SEC championship. That kind of sets them up with a little bit more hype and maybe disappointing by losing in that second round potentially against Wisconsin. So I think I'm going to go with Arkansas on that.
It's a good pick.
I'm just going to say Vanderbilt just because I'm a hater.
We can't.
I don't want to see them have any success.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to take away the little brother statement halfway through the football season and on our podcast at some point there, and so there's probably a little sour taste still left in their mouth from Vandy there, a little run over from football.
Embarrassing.
See, I think this is tough, but to really find somebody to compete with this, I think Arkansas could be close. But what SEC team is expected to go the furthest? I think Florida is the obvious answer here, but there's some other opportunities.
Yeah, I agree. I do still think Florida's probably the obvious pick and who most people would expect to go the farthest. So, but on the flip side of that, of me just saying that Arkansas could be the team that I think would could disappoint. I do think that they could be the team that could go the farthest as well. I know that might seem a little controversial to pick them for that, but I think that's why also that makes their disappointment so high up is, they are a team I believe that could go the farthest, but would be the most disappointing if they lose early on. So I do think Arkansas would be a great pick there.
Yeah, I'm going to feel like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but I think Vandy could go far. Anytime you have a guard like Tanner who just refuses to turn the ball over is a huge bonus, especially in March. I mean, he went through most of the second half of every game without turnovers. Like in big games, he just would have maybe one or two. You had Duke Miles back on this team, who is one of the best bad layup makers I've ever seen. It's just a shot that doesn't deserve to go in, and he somehow puts the right kind of spin on it to get it to go in. It's incredible. Like nickel can absolutely light teams up. So when they get it working, like you saw it against Florida, when they get it working, they can absolutely tear teams apart. I just don't expect them to have it working for 4 games in a row here. But if they do, it wouldn't surprise me if they're well coached. I mean, they came out of that JMU coaching school, so, they're fantastically coached. Byington took JMU, did some damage in the tournament. Or should have made the tournament, but because of where NCAA rules, they don't get to make it. Because of Vandy, and has immediately turned that program around from where what's his face left it. I forget who it was. Stackhouse, where Stackhouse left it. But so I don't know. Like I said, it feels like I'm talking on both sides of my mouth, but Vandy definitely could, besides Florida, could be the last standing SEC team.
Yeah, Jake, I've actually acquired in my later years here the bad layup. I just haven't got the going in part down as much yet, but I have also acquired that bad looking layup shot there.
Yeah.
So
that's the easy part, getting to the bad layup.
It comes with age, brother. It comes with age.
Yeah.
So, sort of for lightning round, kind of heading off as we kind of come to a near close of our episode here. Best SEC player in the tournament.
I mean, mine's obvious. I think it's Acuff, hands down.
Yeah.
He won SEC Player of the Year, so it's not really like I'm going on a limb here, but I'll give you another one that I like a lot too. Is I really like Tanner from Vandy. I just talked about him. Like the guy's a great point guard, incredible point guard, plays great defense, can shoot the ball, get to the hole almost any time he wants, and doesn't seem to ever make mistakes. Even when Duke Miles was out and they were putting all the pressure on him, he still showed up every night, put up 30 several times, and was going double-doubles with assists, carrying that Vandy team. He's a fantastic player and one that probably doesn't have as much steam on him as Acuff, but, I mean, Acuff's the best player out of the SEC. That's been obvious for a while.
Yeah, I think Acuff makes the most sense for sure, but I also felt like Phylon could, if Bama can rally and get past and maybe rebound the ball a little bit, or maybe a lot. They have a lot to overcome to be able to improve themselves in the rebounding category. But for Phylon to I could see him really taking ownership and kind of taking this team on his back, with the Holloway news and him being out or likely being out. I could see him having a really nice tournament. I've also been a fan of his all season long. I like his game. I like watching him play. I like the way he plays. And so I think he's somebody I like to mention in that category.
Yeah, this is going to be a boring answer for me, but and I'm not always one that takes based off of awards and stats completely. But I am going to go with the SEC Player of the Year there in A Cup. If I had to pick one and who I thought was the best, that's what I'm going to have to go with.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're the conference player of the year, I think it's pretty unanimous. But the tournament will tell. You know what I mean? I mean, just because you had a good season, the tournament's a completely different beast. I think we all know that. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, and we can't we can't go through this part of the show and not say the name Nate Ament. I mean, the guy when he puts it on is fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
if he could get
I
some,
do
like
think
when I was watching that Auburn game, if he can get those layups to go, I mean, he's going to drop 50 in a game because he's got such long arms. I know he's 6'11", but he's got that spin move down. If he can just get that, just a little bit of roll, a little bit of softer touch around the rim, it'd be incredible.
Yeah.
Especially if he's making threes like he is. I mean, he's been knocking on that 30-point door a few times this year and just can't quite get over it. One of the most well-rounded offensive basketball players I've seen come through Tennessee in a long time. That if he just got those layups to fall, it would be. I mean, he'd be averaging almost 30 a night.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think him at his best is in that conversation when he's at his best. We can just get the consistency throughout the tournament. I think I think that'll be the key to it. I definitely think that consistency from him needs to show up because if he can be at his best, I do think he's in talks with that.
Well, for sure. Can't have the
I'm
1.1 field goal affair that he had against Vandy last time.
Terrible.
this is going off script a bit, but would you all say when you think back in Tennessee history and think about some of the players that have walked through those doors and have worn the jersey, when you look back, how do you feel like how are you going to remember Nate Ament? Is he the bust? Is he didn't meet expectations, but he was fun to watch for a few games? Was he just the spotlight's too big? I mean, what is going to be your thought about
For,
Nate Ament?
for me, I think he was going to go as a solid player that maybe didn't completely reach his potential because of the inconsistency. Um, but I mean, he's fun to watch when he's doing well. He's obviously a great player. Um, but I think in some of the great players that we've seen that really stands out, like for instance Dalton Connect, somebody like Grant Williams, who all season long was bringing it. And I mean, it's a long season. Everybody's going to have a bad game or so. So I think he's going to be that player that showed glimpses of what he really could have been, but maybe didn't hit that consistency. Now he's got a tournament to be able to turn that around, though. If he comes out here and he plays his best basketball into this tournament, and he does well, and Tennessee goes far into the tournament with his lead, then I think that completely is going to change someone's aspect on how they think about him for the season. If that, I mean, that seems like an obvious statement, but just that this tournament for him, I think will prove a lot on how he's going to show up.
Yeah, this tournament absolutely determines how he's remembered because I think if we go out in the first round, he's not remembered.
No.
Except for like the next time we sign a 5-star player, they'd be like, "Oh, this is the first 5-star we've signed since Nate Ament." Everybody's gonna go, "Oh yeah, that guy." I mean, he's gonna have he's had some highlight games that he played really well in, but he's not like Connect. If you think back to the 2 games that you're gonna remember is the Purdue game we lost in the Elite Eight, where he put on an absolute show, and the time he beat Auburn by himself. Those are the 2 games you really remember out of Connect. And I mean, Lanier, you just think of really him on the year. He didn't have anything that special, but it was a very, very good team. And he was a very good player. Even going far back like Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, the game you remember is the Purdue game, really, like where they kind of went down and beat and stormed all the way back and should have won. He's not earned that kind of remembrance yet, and so I just don't think he really gets remembered if we don't go Sweet 16 and he has some kind of stud plays. Because I mean, nobody thinks what's his face Tobias Harris ever.
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's who
I think it's kind of tough to beat up on him, though. I mean, he's a freshman. I mean, do you really have to prove yourself as a freshman? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, when you come in with basketball, if you come in with that kind of hype and the kind of payday he was getting, the expectations drop here.
True.
And
the basketball has a little bit of a different feel to it in that aspect of freshman. And
Amari Evans and Troy Henderson, the expectation was here, and they got to jump up here, and so now they're loved. It's his expectation started here.
We're also talking about a Tennessee fan base, and
A
it can be
brutal fan base.
you can be very well loved in Tennessee sports when you're the hero and when you do really well, but it can be a harsh fan base if you don't if you don't meet those expectations. And they're passionate fan base. They got high expectations. So, um, and like you said in basketball, especially, a freshman can come in and I mean, a freshman won the SEC Player of the Year, right? He Echo's a freshman, so you can definitely make an immediate impact. But fans they have that expectation, and sometimes maybe that's not fair, but it is.
I mean, to be fair with the fans, they were talking like coming into the year, they were talking like, oh, he's going to be the argument for the number one pick with Peterson, Danza, and Boozer. And then we got to see what those three were doing, and then you were like,
Yeah.
that's a couple steps away. Like
Yeah.
those guys are. Ament is absent a bit there at the beginning of the year. He's kind of worked his way back up there, but there was a serial level cutoff between those three and then whoever was coming next. I mean, I think Acuff might have fought his way up there, but there was definitely an easy cutoff to make between those three and Ament.
Would you say that there's just again? I'm going off script here again. Whoops, sue me. But is there a Tennessee basketball player in the past that I'm a big nostalgia guy. And I've been a Tennessee basketball fan for forever, even when we were just absolutely awful. I made a joke in our last recording that I was like the one guy there at the Buzz Peterson days. I actually think Buzz knew me by name because I was obsessed with them. Is there a player that you all just really loved of past Vol basketball players that really sticks out in your mind as somebody of like, that was my guy?
Chris Lofton, man. He just, I mean, I really do think if events would have allowed for him to have a chance to play on an NBA level too, I think that would have been a guy who could have took his career farther, But you had the iconic shot over Kevin Durant playing Texas. I mean, the guy was a baller, man. He absolutely just had that clutch gene in him too. So, yeah, for me, that's just someone that just comes to mind for me.
For a long time, I was always a big Ron Slay fan, but I was a huge Steve Hammer fan. Absolutely loved him. His knees didn't let him really go that far. But now watching Ron Slay on the SEC network and covering halftime and stuff, the SEC tournament, and like him on TikTok and stuff, I'm a huge Ron Slay fan. I mean, he was a top tier player at Tennessee every year he was there. The headband and there's guaranteed point. At some point in the game when we needed a big run, he would throw the headman in the stands or something, and then we'd go on a big run. And then Wayne Chisholm was always
Take
fun.
a charge.
Yeah. Like Wayne Chisholm was another one of those guys that was always a lot of fun. It doesn't seem to get enough credit around the Tennessee part for how good those teams were that he was on. The credit seems to like avoid him a little bit, but he was an incredible part of those teams that like. Though I think we made was it Sweet 16 or Elite 8 where we had Michigan State beat and then lost right at the buzzer with Brian Williams. I think that was one of his teams that just doesn't get enough credit for how good they were. They might have been the best team we've had, like overall team we've had.
For me, I got to go Grant Williams. And the reason I say that is because I have like a bit of a personal connection with that team, that like 2016 to 2018, 19 team. Because I actually went to multiple games during those years. Me and my dad went, me and, family, things of that nature. And just seeing him play, being a two-time, SEC Player of the Year, I always just thought that he was a class act and one of my favorite balls of all time.
Yeah, for sure. That
Yeah,
team was
definitely.
just endeared for like
Yeah.
you had him, you had Admiral Schofield, Lamonte Turner.
Yes.
Like it was just, that team was just
Jordan
really
Bone.
good. Yeah.
Watching that team in person was exciting. It was electrifying.
Oh,
yeah.
It really
For
was.
sure.
Yeah, Ron Slay, I mean, is the number one, always will be. But if he's been picked, I would say C.J. Watson would be one that was just solid, had a long career in the NBA, but also he pretty much started all 4 years at Tennessee. He kind of felt like he was here for forever. But he's one of my favorites.
He was the reason that Chris Lofton got to be Chris Lofton
Yeah.
because Chris Lofton didn't have to worry about where the ball was coming up the court or matching up too big on defense because not that athletic. But him and Juwan Smith were just lived off C.J. Watson passes that absolutely just rained threes in.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, I think that's we've about hit our time here, but listen, this has been a hell of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Been able to hang out with you guys and talk some Tennessee Vol basketball, but also talking to some SEC basketball. as we are in March, the greatest time of year for us college basketball nerds. And I know there's been a lot coming up here with spring practice starting, so I know that's something that you all have your eyes on for football. So we'll be tuning in for that. And for those that are listening, how can they get in touch with you all at Fourth and Whatever?
Yeah. So go ahead, Adam. You got it.
I was just gonna say YouTube, man. Fourth and Whatever podcast on YouTube. We recently this year launched the Spotify audio version of our podcast. Still trying to figure that out a little bit. If you guys have any tips or tricks, let us know. But that's pretty much where we're at. Trying to expand a little bit into maybe social media pages and accounts and things like that. But YouTube and Spotify for now.
And we do got TikTok as
Good
well
stuff.
for the shorts and stuff. We
Yeah.
we post pretty actively on there as well. So got YouTube,
Yep. I
TikTok,
forgot about that.
Spotify, anything like that. Yeah, you can find us on there.
Well, what we say at the kind of end of our podcast, we'll say we'll see you at the next blowout.
All right. Take care, y'all.